And meanwhile, Carolina, they're pooping the bed right now. My goodness. I mean, this team, we talked about it with Cole back in, beginning of January, something like that. And we talked about, okay, Hubert Davis, what's the deal here? Is Hubert Davis in trouble of losing his job? So there's two schools of thought here. There's one side with Hubert Davis where you go, okay, we saw in 22, 23 that season when all the hype and all kind of fell apart. They missed the tournament, but he came back next year, put together a roster that made sense. Everything flowed together, and they became a 1 seed in the tournament, dominated the ACC. Okay, Hubert can turn that around. But then you come into this year, and you're back on the bubble. Things are not great. The roster construction was not there whatsoever. And now if you're a Carolina fan, Hubert's been on the bubble 3 out of 4 years now at Carolina. He's had the magical run, beating Duke and ending Coach K's career. At what point do you go, look, it's fun it's fun, that he beat Coach K, ended his career. That 1 year winning the ACC regular season, that was great, being a 1 seed. But at what point is being on the bubble just flat out not acceptable at North Carolina?
This should be the one that turns things, I think, in that direction.
You would think.
I mean, yeah, it just... Yeah, because, I mean, the one issue I think, though, that they're going to run into is I think Carolina is especially a school that likes to get a Carolina guy,
Oh, yeah, I think it's likely they only get Carolina guys.
Yes, and I think if you're a UNC fan, I think you're a little bummed Cincinnati's not doing better than they are. Because if Cincinnati were a 4 or 5 seed and they're a top 5 team in the Big 12, I think it becomes a very easy decision at that point. But yeah, I mean, the level at which Hubert Davis has been coaching these teams is not acceptable for a blue blood school like Carolina. It's just not.
And the other issue with the Hubert Davis conversation is there's two things that, one, if you retain Hubert Davis, the path is he's got to get enough money in NIL and he's got to be able to recruit, because they have a lot of questions to answer this offseason with guys like RJ Davis leaving, Ian Jackson's probably going to the draft, and how are they going to fill those needs, and whether it's going to be freshman transfers, whatnot. They got to figure that out. But also, Carolina, if you're going to retain Hubert Davis, or even if you get someone new, they need a GM, because a lot of these top teams right now are successful that have GMs running the show. Hubert should not be solely running all the NIL stuff and roster construction and coaching the team. You got it. That's a 2-man job. You need 2 people to run this. You need a GM and a head coach. There's a reason Bill Belichick wasn't the best GM while he was coaching. There's a reason Bill O'Brien wasn't the best GM when he was coaching. Therefore, I think Carolina needs that GM there also. But are donors going to be okay with what's going on? If, let's say, Carolina retains Hubert Davis next year, they missed the tournament this year, are Carolina donors going to be, you know what, Hubert, we believe in you. Here's a couple $1,000,000. Or are they going to donate large sums of money to help out Hubert when they go, I don't know how much faith we have in this guy? And I think that's the ultimate question that determines your decision is, okay, hey, boosters, are you going to put up money for Hubert? If the answer is yes, you retain him. If the answer is no, I think you got to kick him out the door.
Yeah. But I think even if the answer is yes, it's kind of like, hey, man, here's your money for this year. Like, you need to find something that resembles like last year, where you struck gold on getting guys like Harrison Ingram, like where you got Cormac Ryan, who, was streaky, but all the pieces fit together. But this is just a team of guards. Like, it's just a bunch of guards. Like,
the other issue around all of this is he hasn't necessarily had to recruit that superstar player, because he's had RJ Davis there this whole time, and he had Baycott that whole time, and we've seen how he's done with the Amar trying to replace Baycott. He failed. He flat out failed this year replacing Baycott. And can he replace RJ Davis next season? Or are they going to say, you know what, Cadeau Trimble, you two run the show? And maybe that's the right answer.
I think it comes in the portal. Like, I think they're going to make a swing. It is scary. Like, I could see them shoot, like, but like, doesn't that feel like what they do?
that's their only option, because the only real recruit they're after right now is Caleb Wilson, which it seems like he's going to end up at North Carolina. But after that, you need a new center, you need another wing, you probably need some more shooters around Elliot Cadeau and Seth Trimble. So there's a lot that has to be done in the offseason. And if you do not have the full support of the donors and boosters at North Carolina, there's no way you can bring Hubert back. And I just can't believe we're sitting here at this point yet again, and Carolina's still in the bubble, and Carolina fans are accepting it. That's not, I don't understand how you're a blue blood. There's a reason Indiana fans are losing their minds right now. If one more year goes poorly, you're slowly turning into Indiana if you're North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, right. I think you definitely have to get, because I don't think Hubert is the guy long term. I think you got to get the next one right. Like, you still have, if you're North Carolina, you still have, like, I mean, you still have the aura about you, right? Like, you still have it, but you can only have so many wrong, like, coaching searches to get to that point. You know, you think of programs like that have been successful lately. Like, look, the Tony Bennett era, for example, at Virginia. Virginia has established itself as a very good program, like top 25, top 20-ish, 15, that range, top program. Like, but you got to go get your right guy, like, now. Like, Villanova, they can't afford to miss again. Mm-hmm. Like, if Villanova misses again, they just become like a random Big East team that doesn't really have much of anything.
They fall into the Providence Seton Hall, where you're like, wait, this team won 2 titles, and they were arguably one of the best teams of the 2010s.
Yeah, and right, Virginia's in the same spot where it's like, if you miss, you're like NC State, Maryland. Like, yeah, you know, you're just that. If you miss on the next coach, like, you got to take advantage of the momentum. I think a team like, or a school like UNC is always going to kind of have that. But I do think I don't know if the breaking point is soon, but, like, I think if you're them, there is definitely urgency to get things back on the right track, or the track that a school like UNC should be on.
I do want it noted, I'm not saying UNC is going to miss the tournament. I think UNC still makes it. I think they turn it around a little bit. I think they're going to eventually be fine when it comes to hearing their name on Selection Sunday. I don't think they're going to be playing in Dayton. I think they make the real thing and whatnot. But I think they are going to be playing in the 7-10, 8-9 game when it's all said and done, because, look, the only way they get out of that is if they knock off one against Duke, because the rest of your schedule, you just don't have that many chances to make up ground for that. And so I think UNC still makes the tournament. Remains to be seen.